Hello and welcome to the next episode, as I'm now calling them, in my series where I'm asking a series of familiar YouTube gardening faces 10 questions. They all get to see 10 questions in advance, so they've got a rough idea about what's coming to them, apart from question 8, which they've got no idea about. And at the end of the 10 questions, they then get to throw a question back at me that I don't know about. And to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous about this one. So anyway, I hope you'll enjoy it. And it just gives us all a chance to get to know each other a little bit better. So I'm absolutely thrilled today to be able to welcome Jessie. Hello, Jessie. How are you?
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, as I always say, I've got written down on the first question, who are you? But of course, I've already told people who you are. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more about you, and more importantly, what is the name of your channel?
My name is Jessie, and I'm from Jessie at plot 37. As you can imagine, my allotment number is number 37, and I share it with my mum and 4 chickens, and we have a stray cat called Lily.
Lovely. I've seen Lily many a time. I think she's probably got her own little fan club going, hasn't she? And the
Sure,
chick.
she has.
Oh.
Yeah.
And where is it? Okay, question number 2. That was easy, wasn't it? That was a nice straightforward one. Gets harder. Okay, so question number 2. Where is it that you garden? Is it your own garden? You say it's an allotment. Is it both? Whereabouts is it?
Mainly it's an allotment. We do have a garden, but I mean, if you lay down and do a starfish, you're touching all 4 walls, so it's not a vast space. So yeah, we have an allotment, which is, luckily, it's only about a 5-minute walk from the house, so it's not too separate.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. How long have you been doing it for?
Oh, now that is a question.
Yeah, as in actually your allotment, or I suppose if you're doing it with your mum, has your mum been doing it for longer than you? Have you joined in? Did you start together?
Yeah, it's complicated.
Okay. We've got 35 minutes.
I've been back here in South London for about 8 years, and I've been like back fully involved in the allotment for the last 8 years. I'd say it's probably the most round answer.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you've seen it right through COVID and all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. So I do this, Jessie, and I apologise. Because you said that, I'm thinking, oh, and I should be sticking to the questions. So so was it new to you both for 8 years, or was it already part of the family?
I'm just putting together a video actually at the moment, which is like the history of plot 37, which is quite convoluted.
Wow. Okay.
So I've got loads of like old photographs and stuff to put on. So I'm just putting a video. I'm hoping to get that out quite early in January.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Which is like having a look at it, because we've got some good pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll see the evolution. Oh, well, that's something to look out for. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Gone through a lot of different kind of evolutionary styles in its time.
Yeah, as they do. As they do. What is your main reason for growing?
When I was reading that was such a tough question. The main reason, I mean, it's probably twofold. Like, firstly, because it's just joy. Like, it's just something that I love doing, and everybody who's watching this, if you grow, you know that bit.
Yeah.
But I think growing vegetables specifically, firstly, I love food, and secondly, there's something really, really a specific joy in when you're growing veg, and you get this like wild swing of appreciation for a particular vegetable. Like that first courgette, for example, of the year, you treat like it's the only courgette that's ever existed, you know.
Not so the last courgette. No.
It's a swing between like this godlike courgette, and then 4 months later you're like, right, what can I jam this 4-foot courgette into? Like, and you get really experimental, because you've got like this beautiful appreciation, and then by the end of it, it's like, I'm having teriyaki purple sprouting broccoli and all this kind of stuff, like just desperately trying to use stuff up. I love that. I really like that.
And it's constant learning, isn't it? And you know what we're going to do with it now, you know, because it's yeah. I think every part of gardening opens a new chapter, which opens another chapter, and it opens another door and opens another door. You don't always. I think people think, well, you can garden, you know what you're doing, you did. You might to an extent, but I don't believe anybody, not even Monty Don. I don't even believe Monty Don knows everything there is to know about gardening, because it would get boring if you did. You know, there's got to be something to look forward to. So
There's a
yeah,
reason that yeah, there's a reason people are gardeners for life. Like,
mm,
it doesn't get dull,
no,
because I think the thing that grows isn't necessarily your knowledge. Obviously, that does grow. You're never going to reach peak knowledge,
yeah,
but it's like your ability to overcome when everything goes to crap just
yeah,
grows year on year. So you
yeah,
get this like bigger confidence about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there are people who feel like it's their first year. I've said this before, and they see a picture and they say, "I want it to look like that," and then when it doesn't, it's, well, what have I done wrong? And they beat themselves up. It's just, if you're going to stick with it, that's when you decide whether you're going to stick with it or not.
Exactly.
It's-
But the thing about the pictures is, like, if you're going to be mortally wounded if it doesn't look like the picture, it's
yeah,
probably not for you.
yeah.
However, when you do get something that looks like the picture, it's
Oh, it
pretty
is.
outstanding.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's beautiful.
And I think as well, when you said there about what's your main reason for growing, I think that very first, well, was it the first word? The word that you used was joy. And I don't think you can explain that to somebody who doesn't get it. You can sort of say it to people who are wanting to get into it, but if someone's tried it and it's not for them, which is fair enough, you know, we all like
Fine.
different things. But the joy of the seedling, and I can't believe you're going to be something I'm going to be eating somewhere down the line, you know, and it's yeah, it doesn't get old, does it? It's gorgeous. So yeah.
Awesome.
Right then. Oh, well, this might come into your video then. What's your first garden memory?
Enough. Like, when I first read that, the first memory that comes into my head isn't actually like from vegetable growing or anything. It
Mm.
is the garden in this house, which is that tiny garden. We used
Ah,
to have a pond
mm.
that was like, it took up about like a quarter of the garden. Like, it was still a small pond, but it was a big patch in it. And you know, space hoppers,
Oh yeah.
those
Yeah.
things that you used to
Yeah.
jump around on.
Yeah.
I had a friend over, and we had so much duckweed on the pond, she thought it was just another area of grass and went
Oh,
straight in. And
oh,
that is a really strong
yeah,
garden memory of
yeah.
like the horror that she experienced. If
And it's probably her first garden memory as well, you
you
know.
can imagine, it stuck
Yeah,
with her. Yeah,
yeah,
it was either that or blocked out completely.
yeah.
Like, that was,
Well, the
yeah.
fact that you see, look at it now. If you could have thought then, you'd be laughing about it one day. It's what could go wrong? Yeah. Actually, one of my first garden memories, it's quite similar, was I was at my friend's house. She was called Julie Evans. Don't know why that's relevant. And I must have been about 7, but she had a big garden and it had a swing. And 1970s swings were so dangerous. But anyway, she had a swing, and at the back of the swing there were it was a little clump of trees, and it was oh, what do you call them? Flowering currant. Always used to call them the bee trees because they were always covered in bees.
Covered.
And I literally swung back and landed in the bee tree. And I mean, I love them now, but I just remember sitting there being really sorry for myself and surrounded with all these bees and everything. And my friend just laughed. And
Yeah.
I didn't laugh at the time, but I can.
No. I think my major reaction was laughter
Yeah.
when this little girl's name was Henrietta, when she went in the
Oh,
pond. That was, yeah. I've no
that
idea what happened to Henrietta. If she's out there and traumatized, I apologize. I'm using this as an anecdote.
yeah, when she's in therapy, fearing green stuff. Yeah. All right then. Okay, right. Well, this is an interesting one. Question
Mm,
6, because people have come at this from quite different angles, which is absolutely fine. But what or who has influenced your gardening style?
mm. They seem so simple. And then when you actually go to try and like answer them, it's
Unpick
quite
it.
difficult.
Mm,
Um, but in terms of style, like my mental style of gardening, which is quite like switch off everything else and focus. And it comes from, funnily enough, back years and years and years ago. So when you're about 14 and you have to do work experience,
Oh yeah.
like way back in the mist of time when you've got to go to the office and you choose your little job that you want or whatever. I ended up, it wasn't what I chose, but I ended up being a gardener at Hampton Court Palace for 3 weeks
Oh, well,
as
that's just
my,
quite
yeah,
nice.
yeah, as my work experience. And it's funny because all the other, there was like 4 of us, I think, who got this as their work experience. The other 3 hated every second of it and
Right.
like didn't show up for the last week. And I was in my element, and it was just
Wow.
me and this old guy called Bill,
Oh.
who I mean, I say old guy, my goodness, he was probably about 55. Like I look at him now as a youth, but at the time it was like, he was like a proper old guy in the overalls,
Oh.
with the big pocket at the front.
Yeah, yeah.
And he had worked there since he was a kid, and he was just the most amazing guy. And we spent all day every day together and went and sat down by the river and had lunch and like just ate our
Oh.
sandwiches, like.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought this guy was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, but he was a very like silent gardener, but it was really like, he just told me like, don't, when you're doing one thing, because they're those huge long borders, I don't know
No,
if you've been
yeah.
to Hampton Court Palace,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Well,
it's like, yeah, massive long herbaceous borders we were working on. And he was like, this is a huge job, like don't do one job and think of the next one.
yeah.
Do the one job you're doing
Yeah.
and think about the next one when you're moving on to it. And
Yeah.
that really like changed. It didn't seem like a huge job because you're just doing it in each little bit. And I think that had a huge impact on the way I approached not
Yeah.
just gardening, but like loads of other things in
Yeah.
my life, like from that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's interesting. So don't get overwhelmed. Just don't let, I mean, we know sort of, especially what from February basically through to maybe October, the list for what you need to be doing or what you should be doing, it's never ending, isn't it? So yeah, yeah, he sounds like a fantastic wise man. He's probably, the
Oh yeah.
quiet gardener.
I remember him as being this really, really old, but gnarly chap, but
Mm.
I don't think that was accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a lovely memory that. I worked at Shugborough. It's a National Trust estate. I volunteered to work in the kitchen garden there.
Oh wow.
And it was really, really interesting. But also, I found it a little bit, I don't know, everything was for show. So, whereas
Oh,
it wasn't really as like, I suppose it had been a very successful kitchen garden, but when we were there, it was for the visitors. So everything had to be straight lines so far apart. And it was just interesting seeing a different side of it.
yeah.
But the work that people put into it, oh my goodness, the gardens
Stunning, isn't it?
themselves,
Yeah.
teams of people. So what a fantastic experience to have. Goodness me, most people would have had to go and work down the chippy or something, but fantastic. That's lovely.
Where I had applied for all these like graphic design jobs, because about then, like graphic design was the thing,
Mm,
you know,
mm,
however many years ago that was.
yeah,
But it was the big thing, and I'd applied for all these jobs, and obviously everybody wanted them and didn't get it. But yeah, I absolutely lucked out. It was
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. Do you think that changed the course of what you went on to do, or it just stuck with you as something you'd want to, have as part of your life, or
It was something that was already part of my life
yeah, yeah,
beforehand.
mm,
But yeah, seeing somebody who actually that was their job and that's what they'd done for their entire like lifespan, like I think
yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah, it did change the way I thought about it.
Yeah, yeah. Fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, so you've said about your garden, and I'm with you on that. We've got a very small, it's a Victorian terrace, so we've got the small garden with the little path, you know. So the allotment is fantastic. But what would your ideal gardening space be? So would you like to garden outside your back door? Would you rather have a small holding? What would you have?
Mm. Undeniably, I would like to like have it attached to my house, like
Mm, mm,
100%.
yeah,
But there's
yeah,
allotments do have their advantages. Like you get a bit of a community feel, and you kind
yeah,
of, it is separate from your house, so that is quite nice in some senses. But yeah, 100%. If I could, I would have either a big back garden, or I mean, I'm a fan of the old outbuildings. Doesn't matter how
oh,
ramshackle. I would love an outbuilding.
yeah. Yeah.
any sort. But yeah, I mean, tiny little terrace house in Richmond. It's not a great deal of outbuildings to be had around here.
No, no, and outdoor space very much at a premium nowadays. I mean, you're so lucky with your allotment. It's only 5 minutes
So
walk away,
lucky.
you know.
Yeah,
So yeah, yeah, yep.
yeah.
Good, 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 good. Right then, countryside or coast?
Coast.
Okay.
And yeah, the only thing that could get me out of London would be to the seaside.
Yeah,
I love London. If I had a homestead or anything like that, it would have to be
on the
in
coast.
town,
Oh
which
right,
would
yeah, yeah,
be which would make it, about 40 times more expensive than if it wasn't in town.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
I really do love London.
yeah.
So
So you're
I,
happy where you are. Yeah, that's good.
yeah,
That's good. Okay, right. Question number 9. Now this is the one that I know has foxed a few people, but is there anything that the viewers might not know about you that you would like to share?
the tricky one. Yeah.
It does make you
Uh,
think, doesn't
I
it?
yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
I suppose actually probably carrying on from Bill's silent gardening technique, I went to a Quaker boarding school.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Okay, that's
Not
interesting.
I'm an atheist. I'm not
Yeah,
religious in any sense,
yeah.
but yeah, I went to Quaker boarding school, and that also instills in you a great appreciation for silence. Because I don't know if you've ever been to a Quaker meeting house,
I've
but
got friends who go regularly and they say basically you sit in a
you
circle
sit
and silence.
silence.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and we had a huge, like, there's a boarding school with a big like the meeting house, which was the big round kind of like the assembly hall, but it was around with all the seats around the outside, and everybody's completely equal. There's no hierarchy, so that's all the teachers and everything included, which is
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, you sit in silence for an hour every morning and 2 hours on a Thursday morning, and it was incredible,
Well,
absolutely incredible.
could you read?
No,
Knit? It just literally sit
you
and
cannot do anything. You just sit there in silence and think for an hour. And when I first went, I found that so difficult. At some point, it obviously crossed over, because then when I left, I found not having that really, like, quite difficult. So I now
yeah.
do quite a lot of just the occasional sit in silence and think
But
about things and not do something.
yeah,
It was
it's meditation, isn't it? And in a way, and yeah, it is a learned skill. Like if you ever start meditating, or if you ever try to meditate, you do it a little bit at a time and you build it up. It's but yeah, I think I never knew they had that at schools. I knew again at the is it the meet what do they call it?
meeting
There's
house,
something.
friend's house,
That's
friend's
it.
house.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But wow, that must have been quite something to manage for the teachers as well, though. With that many
Well, the
children
thing
there.
is no. Like, I mean, the school, I hadn't been there. I wasn't there since I was a kid, but they had, really young, like from the age of 7,
Hmm.
and everybody would sit. There was nobody ever.
No naughtiness.
There was no
No,
naughtiness. No,
no.
and you couldn't even deal with naughtiness there because everybody was equal. You couldn't be told off.
Oh,
So it's sort of, but in some odd way, that just meant that everybody just
even
behaved.
that. It's fantastic. As someone who's taught in
Yeah.
mainstream schools,
Wow.
it's,
Yeah.
it sounds like bliss, but it just goes to show
Yeah.
what you instill, really.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
constantly panicked atmosphere. The children are going to respond. And likewise, oh, that's
Yeah.
really, really interesting. That's good. That's good. Okay. Number 10. What advice would you give to somebody who is just starting out?
Um, but I didn't know whether this question referred to YouTube or gardening in general.
Whatever you want to
I'd
do.
say, well, I was just going to say, in terms of like taking on an allotment, my number one piece of advice is just avoid guilt tripping yourself. So make going to the allotment. So make sure like the one of the first things you bring up, along with like a spade or something, is a chair and something to make a cup of tea on, because I think one of the major, I do the viewings for like our allotment site.
All right.
And so I get so many people coming through, obviously, and taking on an allotment, and they come, they're really enthusiastic, but it's when that enthusiasm like just wanes slowly, and it will, like, you know, some badger eats all your carrots, you're going to be feeling like you don't want to be up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just allowing yourself to go up to an allotment, and the way you would a garden, to go there and not do something. Like, you don't have to be doing something. If you go up there and read a book or make a cup of tea, it's
Yeah.
just as valuable as going up there and digging over 4 beds.
Yeah.
Like, and if you
Yeah.
can allow yourself to do that, that when you're not motivated to do it, you go up and do nothing, you're still going up. I think that would be like my number one piece of advice.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so valuable. And I think, yeah, otherwise it's a chore. It can just become so easy a chore. And when you talked about joy before, it only takes something like the badgers to come along. You know, I've seen the destruction that they can cause on your plot, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
it's so disheartening. So you've just got to keep hold of that, haven't you? And
Mm.
even sometimes when you really don't want to go, you just know that if you just go and sit there for a bit, just sit there for a bit, it's, you know, it comes back to you. And if it doesn't, like we keep saying, you know, don't feel bad about the fact if it doesn't, just take it. It might not be for you, you know, but
Yeah,
have you got any advice for anyone starting out with a YouTube channel then? I wasn't expecting you to have, but this could be a bonus.
people, I get a lot of emails from people saying, you know, I really want to start a YouTube channel, like, what should I do? And actually, funnily enough, I think we missed a question earlier, which was like, why did you start your channel?
Oh,
And
did
I think
tie it
I
in.
think but no, it ties in with this one, because like, I started my channel just on a whim, and I think that's always the best way to do anything, really, because if you overthink it, overplan it, um, it's just going to be a nightmare.
Hmm. And you're going to be that
I
nervous
just
before you start, you know.
Yeah, and also, like, people are asking about how YouTube works and things, and like, I didn't know how YouTube worked when I
Who knows?
started making videos. It's one of those things that I think you just pick up as you go along, and don't be afraid to not know. Like, you really can't mess it up that much.
Hmm. I
It's
know.
so
No, I know.
yeah,
And just give it a go.
yeah,
Just absolutely.
exactly. Just have a go.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was it.
So why did you start your channel then, Jessie?
Oh, lockdown. It was
Right. Yes. Yeah.
yeah. So I was working. I was a technician at the Royal College,
Mhm.
and like, one day we were in, and then we left that day, and then I got a text from my boss that said, "Don't come in tomorrow. We don't know what the situation is." And
All
then
right.
from that point on, and there was no furlough. There was
Mm.
nothing, because it was a 0 hours contract. So it was just like, one minute I was full time employed, and the
Mm.
next minute that was it.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I'm in an incredibly lucky position that didn't see me out on the street.
Mm.
And what was I doing every day? We had that magnificent spring. I don't know if you remember it.
I
Oh,
do. I do.
April, May, June was just bliss. I mean, horrifying for a lot of people, obviously, but in terms of the weather,
Yeah.
God, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was so lovely. And yeah, I just got up every single morning, straight to the allotment, and came home at night. Like, that was it. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I just
Fantastic.
started videoing it, and that was that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, probably 6 months before, you might not have even thought of doing that, but you know,
Not a
it's just,
chance.
yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant, and it's worked out really well. It's
Right.
worked out brilliantly for you. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. Your turn. What question would you
Really
like to ask
ties
me?
in
Do my best.
ties in really quite closely with that, actually. So we've panned it out quite nicely. I was going to say, because you've been doing YouTube for, is it 8 years? Like, quite a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think the gardening, or specifically like the allotment community on YouTube, has changed in that time since you started?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question. I think it's changed hugely. It's changed hugely. I started watching YouTube when I started watching gardening videos on YouTube. I don't think I'd ever come across YouTube for anything else. And there were 3 or 4, I would say, main YouTubers that I watched. A couple of, oh, in fact, I'll tell you, there was Sean, James Cameron, Tony O'Neill, Terry King, and I think Nigel Muddy Boots came along a little bit later on, but they were sort of like, for me, they were the 4 main ones, and they were
Yeah.
very instructional, brilliant. Um, And it was sort of the fact that they're all still going puts them in really good stead, I think. But yeah, there were a lot fewer channels then to watch,
Mm.
and the people who seem to be doing it seem to be really, really good at it, really professional. Um, Whereas I think now there's so many more channels to watch, and so many, you don't have to go along and show the best way to do things. You can just go along and relax, like you were saying. And, it's more of a lifestyle thing. And I think that there's a lot more to choose from. And I think that's a good thing. There's a lot more choice that people have. So it's not as dictatorial, if you like.
Mm.
It's not that they were, and I love watching their channels, and I still enjoy them now. But things have changed a lot, and it's so easy now as well, because you can just take your phone. You just take your phone, so it's accessible to so many more people to go out there and do
Yeah.
it. And so going back to what you were saying before about just saying to people, just go and give it a go. Give it a
Yeah.
go. If you don't like it, at least you've tried. I think getting over the seeing yourself and hearing yourself first on camera, that's the
Awful.
weird thing. Once you're over
That
that,
first
fine.
that first, like when you first start editing, I will say to anybody who wants to start and hasn't done it before, when you first start editing yourself, you really do just think, what? Really? Is that who I am?
I know. I know.
Really? I've been over it pretty quick. You do get over it and then it's fine.
But
But
again,
yeah, that
it's
first
another.
bit's a bit rough.
But I hated editing, really hated it with a passion for years.
Mm.
But actually, I really enjoy it now, because it's, for me,
Yeah.
it's part of, and I keep saying it's like a creative process. But if I wasn't doing YouTube videos, I'd have no idea how to pick up a camera, how to do
No.
editing, so it's opened this whole other skill set, really, that I might not be
Yeah.
particularly good at it, but again, you're learning all the time, aren't you? And it keeps it
Yeah.
really interesting. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, there have been big changes, I think. Yeah, really good question. These questions, though, they do make you go away later. I'll be thinking, oh, yeah, it's sort of
Yeah.
yeah, makes you think about things. That's brilliant. Okay. Thank you so much, Jessie. I'm really hoping that I pressed record this time, that we've managed to get all that sorted. I will say, Jessie, at this point, is there anything else you would like to tell people where to go? Obviously, I'll put all your links, your social media links down below.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that you would like to direct people to?
Mhm.
No?
Just a warning, probably on my videos, they are quite long. Uh, I was watching it, like we were talking about Tony earlier, like I love the fact, and JB, like they go up, they do something, they record the video, and then they put it on, and it's
Yeah,
like bish bash bosh done.
yeah.
And yeah, I do like a 45-minute to 50-minute video every week on a Tuesday. Like it's like clockwork.
But yeah,
Yeah,
but they're
it's quite a
lovely.
different style.
It is, but this is it. And there are so many styles out there, aren't there? And
There are.
and that beautiful piano music that you've got at the beginning of your videos, that lures people in and makes them want to stay around. So yeah. Okay, so get yourself over. You will have been to Jessie's channel, I know, but if you haven't, as I say, I will put all the details below. This video will now be added to a playlist, so you'll be able to see this alongside, as we're going through the winter, alongside some of the other 10 questions participants. And yeah, just hope you're really enjoying the series. But for now, I'm hoping it's all gone well. And I'd just like to say another big thank you to you, Jessie. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.